The natural world operates on rules. Not suggestions, not guidelines, but hard mathematical constraints that determine how big a creature can grow, how fast its heart must beat, and how much it needs to eat each day. These aren't arbitrary biological facts, they are the inevitable consequences of physics applied to living tissue. And once you understand them, you can predict the metabolism of a blue whale, a hummingbird, or almost any living thing on Earth using a single formula. Nature, it turns out, is a mathematician, and she is extraordinarily consistent. Here's something that surprises almost everyone when they first hear it. A mouse and an elephant share nearly identical cellular machinery. The proteins powering their muscles, the enzymes in their livers, the basic chemical reactions keeping every cell alive, functionally the same. Yet a mouse lives for about 2 years and an elephant for 60. A mouse's heart beats around 500 times a minute, while an elephant's pulses along at about 30. Despite being completely different in every visible way, both animals arrive at roughly the same grand total over a lifetime, approximately 1 billion heartbeats. This is not a coincidence, and it is not a quirk. It is the first clue that body size and the pace of life are connected by something much deeper than accident. That connection has a name: Kleiber's Law. In 1932, a Swiss biologist named Max Kleiber was trying to understand how food requirements varied across different species. He collected metabolic data on animals spanning an enormous range of sizes and plotted the numbers. The relationship wasn't linear. The bigger animals didn't simply need proportionally more food than the smaller ones. When Kleiber plotted metabolic rate against body mass on a logarithmic scale, a clean, straight line appeared, and the slope of that line was 3/4. For every tenfold increase in body mass, metabolic rate goes up by only about 5.5 times. Double an animal's size and its energy needs grow by roughly 68%, not 100. A creature 10,000 times heavier than another doesn't need 10,000 times the calories. It needs roughly 1,000 times more. This 3/4 scaling turns out to be everywhere. Lifespan, heart rate, breathing rate, the diameter of the aorta, the pace of cell division, all of them track against body mass through simple fractional power laws. The specific exponents shift depending on what you're measuring, but the underlying pattern holds from the tiniest shrews to the largest whales. Life, across its full size range from a few micrograms to hundreds of tons, appears to be running the same fundamental operating system on very different hardware. The question of why 3/4 is one of the most fascinating open problems in biology. The square-cube law gives us part of the answer. When you scale up any three-dimensional shape, volume increases with the cube of its length while surface area increases only with the square. Double the length of a cube and volume multiplies by 8, but surface area only multiplies by 4. This matters enormously for living things because surface area is where heat escapes, where oxygen crosses membranes, where nutrients enter the bloodstream. A shrew has a massive surface area relative to its tiny volume and bleeds heat into the surrounding air at a relentless rate. It must eat almost continuously, consuming more than its own body weight in food each day, just to stay warm. A whale, with its small surface area relative to its enormous volume, retains heat so effectively that thermal regulation barely registers as a metabolic challenge. If surface area heat loss were the only variable, we would predict metabolic scaling to track the 2/3 power of body mass rather than 3/4. The difference between 2/3 and 3/4 points to something else at work. Researchers Jeffrey West, James Brown, and Brian Enquist proposed in the late 1990s that the answer lies in the fractal geometry of biological distribution networks. Blood vessels, airways, and nutrient channels inside animals all branch in self-similar patterns, and these networks appear to evolve toward a configuration that minimizes the energy cost of moving materials through the body. The mathematics of that optimization problem, filling three-dimensional space with a branching transport network as efficiently as possible, naturally produces scaling exponents built from multiples of 1/4. Biology isn't just obeying physics. It is optimizing within physics, and the solution it repeatedly converges on is quarter power scaling. Now consider what happens when you try to break these rules by making something much bigger than nature allows. Take the classic science fiction scenario of a giant insect. The first obstacle is structural. Insect exoskeletons are remarkable engineering solutions at small scales, but the square cube law makes them increasingly impractical as size grows. If you scale an insect up by a factor of 10 in each linear dimension, its volume and mass increase 1,000-fold, while the cross-sectional area of its supporting structures increases only 100-fold. The exoskeleton would buckle under the creature's own weight long before it reached human dimensions. This is why large land animals are vertebrates. Internal skeletons made of bone can be engineered to scale more favorably. Bones grow proportionally thicker relative to body length as animals get larger, a phenomenon that paleontologists can measure directly in fossil limb bones across species. The second obstacle for giant insects is respiration. Insects don't breathe the way vertebrates do. Instead of lungs and a circulatory system to carry oxygen, they rely on a branching network of tubes called tracheae that deliver oxygen directly to tissues through passive diffusion. This system is elegant and efficient at small body sizes, but diffusion is slow and can only transport oxygen effectively across short distances. As an insect's body grows larger, the distance from its outermost tracheal openings to its innermost cells becomes too great for diffusion to bridge adequately. There is a fascinating episode in Earth's history that illustrates this constraint directly. During the Carboniferous period, around 300 million years ago, atmospheric oxygen levels climbed to approximately 35% compared to today's 21%. Fossil evidence from that era shows insects growing to sizes never seen before or since. Giant dragonflies called Meganeura had wingspans approaching 70 centimeters. Higher oxygen concentrations allowed passive diffusion to penetrate deeper into larger bodies, temporarily relaxing the respiratory constraint. When oxygen levels fell back toward modern values, the giants disappeared. The physics offered a window and then closed it. At the other extreme of size, the largest animals alive today are pushing against their own hard limits. The blue whale reaches up to 30 meters in length and can weigh close to 200 tons. It achieves this scale partly because water buoyancy offsets the crushing demand that gravity places on land-dwelling animals. The skeleton doesn't have to support the animal's full weight against a planet pulling at it from below. But even in the ocean, large size carries costs that accumulate. The blue whale's heart is roughly the size of a small car and beats only around 8 times per minute. Its aorta is wide enough that a child could crawl through it. Moving blood through an animal that large requires enormous pressure differentials and vessels engineered at extraordinary scale, and even minor inefficiencies compound into massive energetic burdens. The largest land animals in Earth's history were the giant sauropod dinosaurs, creatures like Patagodon, which may have reached 70 to 80 tons. Their skeletons show the geometric adjustments demanded by Kleiber and the square cube law directly. Limb bones that are disproportionately thick and column-like compared to smaller relatives. Because bone strength must grow faster than the linear dimensions of the animal to prevent fracture. Their metabolisms were likely intermediate between modern reptiles and modern mammals, high enough to fuel growth to enormous size, but not so high as to require feeding rates that would have been impossible to sustain. What all of this reveals is that size is not a neutral variable in biology. It is a fundamental parameter that shapes how you breathe, how your heart works, how long you live, how fast you move, and how much you need to eat. Alter the size of an organism and you change nearly everything about its biology, not because life is arbitrary or capricious, but because the same physical laws that govern bridges and balloons govern cells and circulatory systems too. The organisms alive today are the survivors of an enormous evolutionary experiment in finding workable solutions within those hard constraints. And perhaps the most astonishing thing of all is how consistent the solution turns out to be. Life has explored a size range spanning more than 10 billion times in mass, from the smallest bacteria to the largest whales. Across that entire range, the same scaling relationships emerge. Kleiber's line, when plotted properly, runs straight and true through the data. Whether you are measuring a bacterium, a bumblebee, a brown bear, or a baleen whale, nature is solving the same equation. She just plugs in different